Hello, my name's Liam. Welcome to my kitchen. Today, in honor of Valentine's Day, we're going to make chocolate truffles. This recipe calls for 8 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate and 8 ounces of bittersweet chocolate. Now, I was able to find these 1 ounce individually wrapped semi-sweet chocolate squares. Now, with chocolate baking recipes, when they say 8 ounces, they don't mean a cup, they mean half of a pound. So, I used my scale and measured out what would be 8 ounces in weight of chocolate out of the chips that I found for the bittersweet, and it came out, as you can see, to being about a cup and a quarter. So if you can't find them individually wrapped, use about a cup and a quarter and you should be okay. Now we want to take 2 tablespoons of butter and 1 cup of light whipping cream. Now it's important that we use unsalted butter when making chocolate. Now we want to melt the butter into the cream and just bring it to a nice roaring boil. Note that we haven't added the chocolate yet. It's very important that you never heat chocolate over direct heat, because you'll ruin it. Okay, we brought that to a nice roaring boil, and now we're just going to add the chocolate to it. And just stir this until it all melts together to a nice creamy consistency. Be sure to stir it until you can't find any more undissolved lumps of chocolate in there. It might take a while, maybe like 15 minutes, but you want to make sure you get it right. Looks about right. Optionally, we might want to add a little liquor to them for some flavor. I'm going to use brandy, you could use rum, you can use cognac, but anyway, whatever you use, you want to use about 2 tablespoons for this amount. And then just stir that in, the rest of the mixture. Now what we want to do is take a cookie sheet and then put a piece of wax paper over top of that, and then spread our chocolate mixture over top of that. We want to take a spatula and spread this kind of thin, so that it'll cool a little quicker. And now we just throw this in the fridge and wait for it to harden. Should take about 2 hours. Now we're going to heat up the milk, the butter, and the cream all together. Now you want to make sure before you get started that all of your ingredients are at about the same temperature. So you want to leave the butter out and the cream out for maybe an hour or so till they're at room temperature. Now since we're going to be heating these all up together, we want to make sure that we're using what's called a double boiler. Now a double boiler, you can see that there's water in the bottom of this pan. A double boiler sort of works like a vegetable steamer without any holes in it. You put a little bit of water in the bottom of a pan, put the double boiler on top of that, and the water boils and heats up the double boiler. So you get a very even, very gentle heat. Now you want to make sure that the water isn't actually touching the bottom. So one way to do that is to just put it in and pick it up and make sure that it's not wet on the bottom, obviously. Okay, I've done that. So now we know we're okay. Just going to put our ingredients into the double boiler. And we'll be off to the races. So it's 6 ounces of white chocolate, 3 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream, and 5 tablespoons of unsalted butter individually sliced. So now we start this out on a nice even heat. Medium. Again, we don't want the water to actually boil over, we just want it to simmer and heat up the ingredients. If you don't have a double boiler, you can always just use a glass mixing bowl and just put it on top of any saucepan. It'll work just as well, really. just keep stirring it and try to make it all dissolve evenly. Okay, now that we've got it all melted, we're just going to put it in a mixing bowl and let it cool off a little bit. Now that it's cooled down a bit, we're going to add half a teaspoon of orange liqueur. Just for a little more flavor. Now we just cover this with a little saran and stick it in the fridge to harden. Should take about 2 hours. Now what we want to do is cut these into nice sized pieces and then roll them into truffles. So it helps to use a pizza cutter for this. As for what size exactly, just play it by ear. Depends on how large a candy you want. Remember, if it starts to get a little bit sticky, just move on to the next one and let it cool down, and then try to reshape it again later. You can always throw them back in the fridge to make them harden a little more. Now that we've got them into sort of a rough looking ball shape, what you do is you just kind of put it in the palm of your hand and then just wheel it around very quickly, just to make it a more smooth, even ball, if you can. Now that we've got these shaped nicely, we're going to put outer coatings on them. We've got 3 options here. We've got Pralines, which sort of like nuts covered in caramel. You can buy them at the store. And chocolate sprinkles, of course. And then the third one is one that we're going to make ourselves, which is essentially just a powdered sugar and cocoa powder, 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, 1 tablespoon of powdered sugar. And we just want to mix this up as well as we can. It works best if you have a flour sifter and you can just put the 2 tablespoons of the cocoa powder and the tablespoon of the powdered sugar all together and just kind of sift them. But I haven't got a sifter, so I'm improvising. Now we just take one and we just cover it up. And there it is. Cover it up. There it is. Cover it up. And there it is. And those are our 3 basic coverings. Let's do a third one way, a third the other way, and a third the third way. So now we do essentially the same thing that we did chocolate with the vanilla recipe. Okay, so we can do one of 3 things with this. We can coat it in the powder, or the sprinkles, or the pralines. Go ahead and store those in the fridge, keep them covered. They should keep for up to 2 weeks. Of course, you should probably give them to your loved ones before that. And there you have it. Chocolate truffles. And white chocolate truffles. If these don't impress that special someone in your life,